I'm not saying she didn't write her new special. I'm saying you can see her reading the teleprompter. She doesn't like my energy, which I think is a nice way of putting it. So this is a picture of me and my then boyfriend, Jack Black. I don't want to say I was stupid, except I was. Wicked, is that a cartoon? Hi everybody, it's me, Kathy Griffin. Welcome to my first ever YouTube show. Yes, I know, I'm 64, single and sexy, and I've just discovered this thing called YouTube. Apparently all the kids are doing it. I know I should have done this 20 years ago, but I was like, you know what, that YouTube, I give it a month. Okay, I give it a year. And now here I am. I'm just finishing up my Kathy Griffin, the My Life on the PTSD List tour. First of all, get tickets at kathygriffin.com. This is my co-host because, get this, lean in. Guess who was supposed to be my first guest? That fucking Trixie Mattel. Yeah, I said the C word because I'm a woman and I have one and I can. And that fucking bitch on wheels owes me because I schlepped to her studio, which was very far for me to go in my Porsche electric. It's an electric car, calm down. And then, guess what? I called her trying to get her to be a guest on the show. And then here's the first text. I'm at Disney all day. What kind of a grown man goes to Disney all day? Probably trying to get free rides, probably trying to get the e-pass, if that's still a thing, which I have no idea because I don't even know if I have Venmo. Don't steal my Venmo if I have one, but I don't know if I have one. Look, this is gonna be a learning exercise. I am improvising this whole thing, which I know is a shock to you, but we're gonna go on this journey together because I thought if I do a show with a wig as a co-host, then I can't be really censored. And I do wanna say whatever I want. Let me do the introductions first. I have 4 dogs and I won't apologize. And this is your turn. This is your moment. I sleep with all 4 of them every night in my bed, which I know is a block, but I have no to block right now, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, I have to tell you something I said on someone else's podcast that I'm actually scared shitless about. It was these 2 girls, I don't remember their names. One's named Esther and one's named like Delilah or something, and I don't even know the name of the podcast. I do so many fucking podcasts, and I never even know if anybody listens to that. Oh, that dog just went, speed it up, mommy. They were like, we can cut this part out if you want, but do you ever see yourself dating again? And you guys, do you know what I said? This is such a douche moment that I know is gonna bite me in the ass. I go like this, I paused, and I go, I know I'm gonna sound like an asshole, but I don't know if there's anyone good enough for me right now. I mean, tear me apart, YouTube. I deserve it. I actually said that, and I started listing stuff. I was like, you know, you gotta keep up with me for once. How about that? How about not me with guys like without jobs and broke ass guys? I got a house, I got a career, I fly private. Don't even start with me. I've got half a lung. I have a life, I have an amazing circle of friends. I have these salon parties that I'll tell you about if we even have time, but it's basically an excuse to get people around a table, put their phones down and actually have a real life conversation. And I'm like, have you seen 4-year-old? I'm not 65 yet. And maybe by the time this goes live or airs, I don't even know. So that's what I said, and I'm owning that it was some douchebaggery on my part. But you know what? Talk to the wig about it, because that's why the wig is here. She can take your complaints. I also have a box of Kleenex with me at all times because I have celebrity runny nose disease, which I've decided is my new hook. And I'm looking for a big pharma campaign. It's running now a little bit just because I'm a little nervous, but it runs at the worst times. Like right when I'm about to go on stage, but I'm just gonna own that there's Kleenex here and there's no secrets between us because we know each other. I'm the decapitated head lady. Oh, let me tell you this. So if you don't know who I am, I'm a comic and you can Google Kathy Griffin Donald Trump head and enjoy that deep dive. So one time I was going to give a speech at Oxford, which is not even in America, it's in England. And so they invited me to do a speech about the First Amendment, which I'm a bit of an expert on, at least when it comes to comics. They sent a car for me to take me to Oxford. It was pouring rain and the driver was Moroccan. So I did what I naturally do. A lot of Americans do it. Some of you may have done it. I just immediately apologized for Trump. Like immediately, because I'm from Morocco. I go, let me get this out of the way. I know, I can't believe we voted in Trump. I get it. He goes, he's the greatest president you've ever had. And I'm doing this like backpedal thing of like, oh, shit. So I go, well, I don't know about that, but I'm not a fan of his. And he goes, "You're the lady from the picture." And I'm all, "Yep, that's me." You know me, owning it. "Yep, that's me." And he goes, "If we were in Morocco, I could cut your tongue out right now." He didn't cut my tongue out, which is really what we're here to discuss. Now, I am going to initiate a segment, as if this is a real show, called Kathy Called It. Let me tell you why. I want a little credit. Because what I enjoy very much is sometimes the young person will find something I said and they'll put it on TikTok and they'll be like, "You know what? Kathy Griffin called that one." You know, Ellen. I gotta make fun of Ellen. I can't resist. I'm not saying she didn't write her new special, for which she got $40 million, I think for 2 specials. I'm saying you can see her reading the teleprompter like this. Like she's doing stand-up, but her eyes are going like this, which maybe I imagined, allegedly. So I'm gonna get in trouble by saying stuff like that. And then I'm also gonna pet dogs because I did a PETA campaign. So I'm a dog lover, so you can't come at me too hard because of these little fluff balls. Now, hold on, I'm gonna show you this dog. Come here. I'm sorry. This is the most skittish, so you have to be the most careful with them. You gotta scoop his butt. That's what they say, this kind of dog, which is just a pound mix. I don't know, they're not like, you know, they're from the pound. Is his dick out? Okay, so his dick isn't out now, but my hand to God, and I did put this online one time back when Twitter was cool, before that Nazi turned it into shit. And I'm saying Nazi without even using the word allegedly, because you know who I mean. So this dog is the only boy dog, and he's just a little fella, just taking on the world one day at a time. I have PTSD. We can talk about that all you want. I believe he has it as well. In fact, I blame myself for giving it to him. What he does, like when someone comes over, is he starts to chew his own penis. And I'm not kidding. I don't just mean he blows himself, which I would expect. I mean, he has the system of using his teeth to pull his adorable little penis out of its sheath, and then he chews on it and it goes from pink to white. And then he does it so violently, he's making himself go in a circle. So he's revolving and chewing his dick. So I don't want to promise anything, but if we play our cards right, you might in one show get to see an adorable dog chew his own penis nearly off. You can't have my water. You can. I'd give them anything. I feed them from the table. I do all the wrong things. Everything Cesar Millan told me not to do. I mean the real Cesar Millan who came to my house one time, which is another thing. I worship Cesar Millan. He's legit, but the minute he even walked into my house, before he even uttered a command, all of my ne'er-do-well, not necessarily completely trained dogs just were like, and just lined up in front of Caesar before he even opened his mouth. I am a little more high-strung, so they're my fault. Okay, the other thing I just wanted to tell you, just because maybe this is relatable to some of you, maybe not. I have squeezed myself into these jeans because I gained 10 pounds after the election because of course I wanted President Harris. I don't think my political leanings are a shock to anybody. I bought the Victoria Beckham jeans that she wore in the Beckham documentary. And you guys, I'm gonna tell you how much they cost because I'm embarrassed. They were $524 for one pair of jeans. And I bought them kind of thinking I would turn into Victoria Beckham. Like, I'm just saying that's part of the buy-in. Like, who are we kidding? Then I gained weight, so I can barely breathe. So I brought you the 2 other pair that I bought. So I now have 3 pair of the same exact jeans, although this one, as you see, is in a darker denim, depending on which way the political winds blow or my mood or whatever. I do have a lot of clothing, and I'll tell you why. Because all the years I've been doing red carpets or getting awards or losing awards, mostly you lose, obviously. No like fancy designer would loan me stuff, so I have to buy my stuff, which is fine. But get this, I've been around so long and been canceled, and now I'm like slightly uncanceled, like not totally uncanceled, but slightly. I'm gonna go with half uncanceled. And so I have these leftover like Emmy dresses and Grammy dresses and maybe like a Golden Globe fancy party or something. And get this, now they're vintage because I'm so old, they're vintage like me. But that's why I stand on the red carpet and I sound very ahead of the curve. Like, oh, this is Versace vintage, when it just means I've had it and lost a lot of awards in it. Let me know if you would be interested in seeing my vintage gowns. But look, go easy on me. Don't expect like 40 changes per show, for God's sake. This show's free. What are you bitching about? Hold on, nose run. Hold on. See, I don't think you even saw my nose was running, but if you did, I believe you're accepting me for who I am, or else I wouldn't be here. I can try on the dresses. That could also be an emotional spiral though, because when I look back at certain pictures, I can't believe how skinny I was. Did you ever do that? Where you're like, holy shit balls, I was starving. Anyway, I'm wearing these Victoria Beckham jeans, the first ones I bought, and they are so tight and painful, I'm sure to get a yeast infection or at bare minimum a UTI, which typically you don't get unless you're banging a new guy. Cause like, you know how when you first start sleeping with a guy, you go crazy and it's like 5 times in one night or 3 times in one night, and then you keep that party up long as you can. So get this. This just reminded me of this. So every day I miss my dear departed friend, Joan Rivers. She was a good girlfriend and a mentor, and I just miss her. And I love when people come up to me and say, we wish Joan was here and we want to see, you know, Joan's take on the world. And I'm like, I'm right there with you. So when I was about like somewhere in my 40s, like way too old for this, like maybe 45, I started, you know, seeing this new guy. Seeing is a nice way to put it. And it was that kind of phase. I was on tour, which I usually am, and I'm always very happy to be on tour. Once again, it's the Kathy Griffin, My Life on the PTSD List. Get it? Tour. This was kind of back in the day. But the point is, I wasn't like a 22-year-old kid, right? So I'm sleeping with this guy, sleeping with him, and we're having the time of our lives. And then I get a brutal UTI. Now, guys, if you're watching this, first of all, hello, LGBT folks. If you're watching this and you're a man, I can't even describe the pain of a UTI. It just, I'm sorry. I know when you guys get kicked in the balls, it hurts, and we've seen that in every movie. But I'm telling you, when you're a woman and you have a UTI, imagine like whenever you had to pee, the hardest you ever had to pee, but there's no bathroom in sight and you just can't do it anywhere. And then someone steps on your bladder with a combat boot. They step on you as hard as they can. Then when you finally pee, it feels like fire. Then you pee 3 drops and you're like, no. Anyway, I'm on tour. I'm in Manhattan, I didn't live there, and I'm embarrassed that I have this UTI at my age. So who do I call? Because she knew everyone. I called Joan Rivers and I'm like, do you have a gynecologist I can go to? I have an 8 o'clock show tonight and I'm in such pain. I'm like doubled over. She's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? How can I help? And I said, well, I'm just gonna be honest. I'm banging this new guy and we went at it so much that I got like the, you know, new relationship UTI. And I'm embarrassed to tell you this, and I know I'm too old for these shenanigans anymore, but I'm just being honest. And she goes, isn't that fabulous? And I always remember that, her wonderful outlook on UTIs, which is, if you're lucky enough to still be banging guys at 45 or 50 or 64 or whatever age that story is from, her reaction was, isn't that fabulous? All right, I'm sorry. I know you don't like to think of mommy that way. Okay, so guess what we're gonna do now, you guys? I'm gonna look at some old photographs, and I mean photographs, like before digital pictures even existed. So I'm gonna have my assistant hand me some random pictures that I'm gonna see for the first time in years, and if I have any thoughts about them, hopefully you'll find it amusing. All right, fly some pictures in. I don't know what this one's gonna be. You guys, okay, there I am with Will Smith. You know, close enough to slap, that's all I'm saying. So he didn't hit me, I don't have that story, but this was when I had what was called an under 5, which means under 5 lines, on a little show called The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I didn't bother him all week, like when we were rehearsing and stuff, because, you know, he's such a big star. And then the night of the taping, you're not gonna believe who did the warm-up. It was Flava Flav. He shows up to do the warm-up, which means the live audience is there. He's like keeping them busy and playing music. Flava Flav with the chains and the whole thing. So just while I'm at it, random thoughts about Will Smith. I am curious. I am not making any judgments, but I am still not over that Jada Pinkett Smith press tour she did about that book she wrote where she held Hoda Kotb prisoner. It just seemed to go on for days. And she was saying things that I'd never heard before, like she was engaged to Tupac, who I also worked with one time, which is a whole other story. I know that sounds, I'm telling you, I go back. But I did a gig one time with Tupac Shakur. It was on this show that Roseanne Barr produced, who's now like a super MAGA, but at the time she gave me a break for this show that I think it only ran 6 or 8 episodes called Saturday Night Special. And it was the first time I got to be in part of like a cast of players, and the other person in it was Jennifer Coolidge from White Lotus and from Just Being Jennifer Coolidge, who was hilarious then, hilarious now. I love to see Jennifer getting her flowers. I love her whole career, all the Christopher Guest movies and everything, but yes, there was a time that Roseanne Barr produced a show with Kathy Griffin and Jennifer Coolidge, and we were the unknowns, and all kinds of people came through there. All right, another picture, please. Have I got more than a half hour? I have no sense of time. You guys, this is how I am on stage. Not that I have no sense of time. I pretty much have to be hit with a baseball bat to get off stage. What I've been told is unique to me. Most people are happy to, Jerry Seinfeld, do their hacky 50 minutes and then go home and count their money. I'm sorry, he's a national treasure. All right, so this is a picture of me and my then boyfriend, Jack Black, who you probably know mostly from School of Rock, and I think he's in a cartoon. I think he's in a super big cartoon series. Oh, he's also in a series called Kung Fu Panda, which I don't know about because this is controversial. I don't watch or understand animated movies, and I certainly don't understand why you'd pay for one in the theater. But I know people love Toy Story, Wicked. Is that a cartoon? No, not really. Jack Black was a really fun boyfriend to have. First of all, I wrote about him in my first book, Kathy Griffin's Official Book Club Selection, which I titled because I hoped Oprah would choose it for her actual book club that she used to have, which would soar the book to #1. And she does not care for me, is the word that gets back to me from that world. She doesn't like my energy, which I think is a nice way of putting it, by the way. She should just call me every name in the book after the stuff I said about Oprah. Anyway, back to Jack Black. So he was the first boyfriend I ever had where other bros thought I was cool because I was dating him. And by the way, dating is a very loose term. He used to have this apartment in Vermont. So one night I spent the night there, and the next day I'm in the shower, and I remember saying to him, I get off on the bath mat and I said, I need a shower towel. And he goes, you're standing on it. You guys, that's straight, guys. He had one bath mat / towel that he used for both, and that was it. So naturally I kept sleeping with him. Oh, you know who got in between us? Like, not as a couple, but like he started hanging out with Andy Dick a lot. And Andy Dick is someone you also feel free to Google because there's quite a history there. I believe he spent some time incarcerated in Lake Elsinore, California, which is something. I think Jack just got bored with me. But anyway, he was a fun boyfriend to have because he's an amazing singer. So you probably know that from School of Rock, but he would sing to me sometimes. Isn't that sweet? All right, give me another one. Oh, this is such a good one. Okay, so this is when I was on a show called ER, and it was a big show that used to be on the NBC Thursday night must-see TV lineup. So it was like Seinfeld, Cheers, that was a big one, and then ER. I actually later on got to be on a show that was in between Seinfeld and ER called Suddenly Susan with Brooke Shields, which is airing nowhere, to my knowledge. Then we had like great ratings for that moment. Okay, so in this picture, I don't want to say I was stooping Quentin Tarantino, except I was. It wasn't a relationship. And here's the thing, we never had sex, but he would stay over and we would actually cuddle all night, and we called it The Thing. So just, if you have watched this show and wondered if it was worth it or didn't quite know what this show was gonna be, just let that sit with you. I cuddled with Quentin Tarantino, I believe multiple times, and you didn't. I mean, I don't know, that's the end of that sentence. No, I know you would not think of him as a cuddler, but I remember thinking, I don't want to be like another actress that sleeps with a director, you know what I mean? Anyway, he wasn't in love with me, I'm not saying that. He was in love with Margaret Cho though, did you know that? Like he was really in love with her. Anyway, he was very fun to date, and in that photo is a picture with another actor named George Clooney. I remember they put you in like a trailer when you're on a TV show. And I remember going into, I think it was Clooney's trailer, and we started making prank calls. So it was myself, George Clooney, and Quentin Tarantino, and we just started calling people. And one of them was my then friend, Janine Garofalo, who I haven't seen in years, but we were really good friends. And I often think about that. And it tickled her to get a prank call from Kathy Griffin, Quentin Tarantino, and George Clooney. And by the way, I stand by all this. So when those guys start coming out of the woodwork and saying Kathy Griffin makes up, no, that was true. And by the way, it's also harmless and adorable. All right, let's do one more picture and then we'll wrap up. Oh, I love this one. Okay, look, do you even know who it is? take a minute. It's Kathy Griffin with a very young Bob Odenkirk from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Okay, so I was in this group of comics and we were kind of the alternative scene. And papers would write articles on the alternative comics. And I was in a group of probably, I don't know, there were maybe a dozen of us doing more of like a improvisational storytelling kind of stand-up. Because Bob is not a classic stand-up. Now he can do stand-up, but he worked very closely with a guy named David Cross. They had a show called Mr. Show with Bob and David. Oh, get this, wait, sidebar. Another castmate on the formerly HBO, which is now Max, Mr. Show with Bob and David, was a guy named Jay Johnston, who's a freaking J6er. He's one of the guys that stormed the Capitol on January 6th, and he's now pardoned. And he was in our little comedy clique, and he was working all the time. He was on that show, Bob's Burgers, when he stormed the Capitol. I just take that in, stormed the Capitol, a comedy guy. So I haven't seen Jay. I'm sure he loathes me, especially for the Trump picture, but I know a J6er. Now, I know many of the folks on the other side of that, many of the heroes from that horrible day that protected the Capitol, but I only know one, and I call them J6ers. So back to Bob Odenkirk. He was so cute. All the girls wanted him. A couple of the girls got him. I never went after him, but I still think of him like a brother. I actually dated his brother, which is really funny. I dated his brother, Billy, who was going to University of Chicago at the time, then went on to be a Simpsons writer, I think. So I saw Bob recently, and Bob survived a coronary arrest, which was very serious. He was actually filming the excellent show Better Call Saul. He's a Chicagoan like I am, so he is beloved everywhere, but especially Chicago. He's from Naperville, if you know Chicago. I saw him and it was so like tender because I, had a brush with cancer. He had his coronary arrest. He was touch and go for a while. I got half a lung. Just to see him with like the kids are grown, I still can't believe it because I still feel like this. That's one of the issues I have is I may be in a 64-year-old body, but I still feel 21. That's one of my issues. Anyway, I love that picture of Bob. He's so cute. And I didn't even know he had any aspirations to become a dramatic actor. He was like a comedy guy through and through. Then he got a job writing on Saturday Night Live. So he was already somebody we all looked up to in our little clique. But he's now this amazing, fine actor. And I was so happy to run into him recently and give him a hug and get the band back together. I think this has been a very successful first show. Like I said, we're doing this together, like for real. I know it's comical that I'm even doing a YouTube show at this age, but I need your guidance. So don't say, wow, I heard doggy something, not this part. So look, don't say stuff like, I want to see you jump out of a plane. It's not my life on the D-list. I don't have this crew that follows me around. Half the time I'll probably just flip on the camera and alight myself and just pop off or whatever. But what do you guys want to see me talk about? What do you want to hear about? Do you want old stories, medium stories, new stories? Do you want the hot takes? Well, hot takes everybody wants. So what is it that you would like to see? I am here to please. Please like and subscribe. It'll help me grow the channel and help get viewers. And I really want to give you guys something that's interesting and fun and silly and light. And maybe I'll do interviews, maybe I won't, but subscribe and like, and please tell your friends. Honey, I'm so back on the D-list, it's ridiculous. So join the D-list with me. Let's celebrate it. See you next week. I'll be here every week. Count on me.